watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show, the only video game show that knows that raptors used to have feathers.
Welcome to another edition of Sega Genesis vs. Super Nintendo Retro Reviews, this time focusing on the video games based on Jurassic Park.
Hey, timing! And you know what? It is the perfect timing. With the brand new movie Jurassic World coming out around the corner, we had to go and dig up all of these old games and try to play them and see if we can beat them and figure out which ones were the best.
When you think about it, Jurassic Park came out at just at the right time as far as video games go. 1993. The Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis both hit the market, and both were vying for the attention of consumers. And what was better than to release adaptations of the biggest box office movies that were to hit the scene? Ocean Software developed 3 versions of Jurassic Park, the game. There was one for the original Nintendo Entertainment System, the Game Boy, and this one. For the Super Nintendo, which by the way was one of the first games to be mastered in surround sound. This game is a combo of 2 different gameplay styles, a top-down overhead view and a first-person view, similar to Doom or Wolfenstein 3D. You play as Dr. Grant, of course, being more badass here than he ever was in the films. Grant carries a gun which starts with a standard cattle prod. Along the way, you can pick up different weapons, like shotguns, grenades, and so forth. Now when you're wandering around outside, you'll notice that it's very Zelda-ish, where you travel from building to building, avoiding raptors and other dinosaurs along the way. You can also get helpful messages from the other characters. Alright, that does get a little more on the annoying side. And you know what? It even got us killed once. Now when you enter the buildings, this is when the gameplay switches to a first-person mode. Now this is where you really get the main objective of the game. It's basically a big fetch collection quest. You need to access this area, but you can only do it with a card key. That is in another building, of course, and it is in a room where you need a battery to power your night goggles, because if you enter a dark room, you will instantly die. Now when it comes to the first person stuff, remember, this was back in the caveman times of video games, so it's pretty slow moving, and it is kind of funny that the dinosaurs will look at you and just kind of not move until you get close to them. Whoa, whoa, hey! Personal space, bro. Now when you're outdoors, make sure to gather up as many weapons as you possibly can, and watch out for the raptors, because, wouldn't you know it, they will rip you apart as pretty easily as possible. Yeah, clever girl, you know what I'm saying? Overall, Jurassic Park on the Super Nintendo is a decent game, though it may take a while to really get into it, as it's not the most exciting Super Nintendo adventure out there. I mean, compare it to Zeldas and your Marios and your Kirbys and... One more thing. When you pause the game, you will get some interesting real facts on dinosaurs themselves, so I really wasn't expecting to see that in a video game, me actually learning stuff. See? Video games are educational. Haha! Take that, Mom.
A year later, in 1994, Ocean Software made its own sequel to Jurassic Park, called Jurassic Park 2: The Chaos Continues. This game starts off with a very nifty opening cinematic. A rival corporation called Biosyn intends to take control of the island, so InGen sends in Dr. Grant and a random Marlboro man to take them out and save the dinosaurs. The sequel plays differently from the first game, as this one is more of a run-and-gun shoot-'em-up, and it can be played with 2 players. You have multiple weapons at your disposal, both lethal and non-lethal. The main enemies of the game, however, are the rival soldiers. In fact, the game keeps track of the dinosaurs that you kill. Remember, you are here to save them. If the population gets too low, they won't be able to survive on, making your efforts pointless. So, you will have to keep an eye on that. Well, except the raptors. You can kill them all you want. Anyway, similar to a Mega Man game, you can choose which order you can do your missions. They range from stopping the T-Rex, to destroying a nest of raptors, to taking out the enemy's headquarters, and there's also emergency missions that you must complete, such as rescuing hostages and so forth. The game does have a solid presentation with its graphics and sound, but the game doesn't present anything new or revolutionary. The action stays the same, running around, shooting stuff, over and over again, rinse and repeat. It is done well enough. However, we also have to admit the game is pretty darn difficult, so you may have to grind through it. But in the end, Jurassic Park 2 The Chaos Continues is another fair outing. Now, off to the Sega Genesis.
That's cute. Developed by Blue Software this time, Jurassic Park for the Sega Genesis starts off with a pretty radical opening. The game allows you to play as either Dr. Grant or, get this, a Velociraptor. Isn't that awesome? As Dr. Grant, you pick up the game just as the T-Rex broke free of his cage, and, well, you have to make your way through the island to get the helicopter to get out of Dodge. I mean, forget everybody else, right? The kids can fetch for themselves. Meanwhile, while dealing with the dinosaurs, you will run into a variety of weapons at your disposal. As the Velociraptor, you break out of your pen, as the power was suddenly shut down. You take a whiff of the air, and you pick up Dr. Grant's scent. That's right. While playing as the Velociraptor, you are hunting the main character, Dr. Grant. Probably one of the first times notable in video games where you're playing as probably the villain. We have to admit it was pretty clever to give the raptor its own story. You can slash with your claws, you can bite, and you can also even eat smaller little dinosaurs. You can also run faster and jump a lot higher than Grant can. Doug Tenapple, the creator of Earthworm Jim, was the lead artist for this game using 3D models, and the hard work really paid off. The look of this game was very, very well done. The graphics on both the characters and the backgrounds are very good, as well as the sound effects and the music. They are, in our view, very superior to the Super Nintendo counterpart. It's just a real shame that the controls are... Okay, hold on. Alright, look, we're sorry. We're really sorry, but... the game has some of the wonkiest controls we have come across. I mean, they are so non-responsive and very difficult to get used to, and we swear that sometimes the characters are jumping on their own without us inputting the commands. Another problem is in the level designs. The level designs themselves can become quite a chore to maneuver around and just hell to explore. Well, at least there's a password system, so despite the paper wrapping around this beast, we just can't quite recommend this one. It does feature the novelty of playing as a raptor, but the bad controls affect it just as much as Grant, so the novelty wore thin with us. Unfortunately. Oh well, let's see if the sequels fare any better.
Get that Genesis game out of my face.
Jurassic Park Rampage Edition hit stores in 1994, and it starts off with this. Man, that opening is frickin' metal. I want that on a t-shirt. The game's story is just hilarious. As Dr. Grant was able to make it to the helicopter in the first game, and it takes off, it then crashes back on the island. Ah, son of a... So now Grant has to make his way onto a boat to get off the island, while fighting InGen agents and dinosaurs along the way. And of course, Grant has a variety of guns at his disposal. We swear, this guy is the commando in these games. Once again, you have the option to play as the Raptor, who also has its own playable story. It's trying to get off the island as well. It's trying to get to a cargo ship to find a safe place to lay its eggs. The same abilities that it had in the first game are here as well, including a Raptor Rage mode, where the screen turns red and you become invulnerable for a short period of time. The game allows you at the start to choose between 3 levels that you want to complete, before finally being able to do the final levels as opposed to the linear gameplay of the first one. The gameplay is basically like the first one. The graphics, however, are a little brighter and more cartoony. But most important of all, the controls feel much more improved than they were in the first one. They feel a lot more fluent and easier to control. Thank you! Of all the Jurassic Park games we've gone over, this is actually the one we prefer. It's surprisingly a lot of fun, playing as either Grant or the Raptor. Jurassic Park Rampage Edition, for us, does it just right.
Well, there you have it, the Sega Genesis and the Super Nintendo games of Jurassic Park. Let us know which one you guys think is the best. Meanwhile, you know who I am. You can comment below and such.
Oh, shoot!
What?
I forgot something.
Hold on, wait, what? You forgot something?
Hang on a second.
Real professional.
Ah, there you go.
The Lost World Jurassic Park for the Sega Genesis?
Yep, bonus review!
This had to be one of the last games for the Sega Genesis ever, as the PlayStation and the Sega Saturn were already out. Hell, even the Nintendo 64 was out. Something has survived, as the tagline says. Kind of a clever tagline, if you ask me. It kind of makes you force yourself to have to look back at the old past just to see what you left over. This is The Lost World Jurassic Park, a sequel game that is actually based on the actual sequel movie. Well, sort of. Actually, not really. Definitely not. Other than a few vehicles that appeared in the movie, there is really not much here that is familiar to its big screen counterpart. And I doubt that you are playing as Ian Malcolm, the main character of the film. Instead, you look like Grant, but he wasn't in the second movie. Anywho, here you are, dropped off all by your lonesome, isn't it always the way, to accomplish several missions, chief among them to stop the hunters from transporting the dinosaurs off the island, while at the same time making sure those pesky dinosaurs don't turn you into dinner. Wouldn't you know it, I'm always having to avoid becoming somebody else's meal. The game features a top-down perspective similar to Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. You run around different sections of the island and accomplish different objectives. You are armed with an array of guns and body armor that you can pick up. You also have different vehicles you can ride around in to help you get from place to place. And well, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's not the deepest game out there. I mean, the graphics are pretty good and the music sounds like something out of a John Carpenter film. You can also check the pause menu for descriptions of missions and other pretty useful information, I guess. The game is nothing special, but for what it is, it's okay. And it might even be worth getting for the novelty itself. I mean, especially for how late it came out. I mean, we didn't even know this game existed until we went to a swap meet and saw it lying there and went, well, wow, what do you know? We gotta try this, right? So yeah, there you go.
Holy Tyrannosaurus, Batman! That is a lot of video games! Based on the Jurassic Park series, anyway. So, do you guys like them? Do you think they're terrible games? Which one was your favorite? Which one sucked? You can always comment below and tell us what you think. Meanwhile, you've been watching the Brotherhood of Gaming video game show. You know who the heck we are. If you don't, well, I guess we don't know either. We will see you next time on the best video game review show of the world.
And as always, keep on gaming, viewers.